Hey guys, thank you for tuning in to the Pest Startup 101 podcast. This is gonna be pre-episode two, so the podcast officially is released next week. But these are some pre-episodes that we're fine-tuning things, so we don't want to call them official episodes. We want to fine-tune the sound and the outline of the show to get things right. So we're just tweaking things as we go. So you may notice that the sound is a little different from episode one. So we're just working out different mics, different rooms, different spaces to try to get the right sound. So in this episode, we're gonna talk about the big T. So this is gonna be story time again. I'm gonna talk about my training at the number one pest control company on the planet. And I guess we all know it. Everyone in the pest control field should know. It goes back and forth between two companies, and I was fortunate enough to start out and with the Big T. So I don't know about saying their name. I don't know about the legalities of things yet, but after I do some research, then we'll talk about it. But so I got into pest control as one of my friends, one of my great friends, but my brother, he was in the pest control field as a technician slash salesman, and I believe he started out as a pest control tech, and then maybe he started termites, then he branched over, then he went over to pest tech, and then he became a pest tech who did sales. So in our branch, which was, I'm not sure if it's unique or not, but if you're a technician that gets a lot of sales, that you can start upselling customers and you can go to the neighbor's house and make sales, and the branch manager start calling you and start tossing you sales jobs. So he'd call you and say, hey, do you want to pick up this inspection? And then you make the sale right then, and you can do the service right at the time of the sale. So that's what would happen with him. And all he had to do was show me his W-2. And when I saw how much he made for the year, uh, I said, hell yeah, man, I'll jump on that. So I went over there, and so let's go over their training. So I've been through training with big company, and then I've been through training with small company. That same friend that recommended me for the job at the Big T, he started his own company, and I ended up working for him years later. But yeah, Big T training. They put you in a room after your interview. They send you for a drug test that day. You don't realize how hard it is to get a person to commit to becoming a pest control technician. So the interview process wasn't that bad. I mean, they pretty much take anyone with a clean license with no criminal background, and you pass the drug test, and you look decently fit to do the work. If you're not squeamish about picking up dead rats, then you got the job. So they after I passed did the interview, went did the drug test, went in for training. It's supposed to be 2 weeks of training. They're supposed to put you in a full day of watching videos, and then it's a full day of filling out the book, the intake book, which is a big binder, and you have to sign a million pieces of paper. And they say, hey, you're in this room. We're gonna put you in this room and just go through this binder, read it all, sign it. And then after you do that, and after you've seen the videos, and you're gonna go on the road with a termite technician for a few days, and you go on the road with a pest control technician for a few days. You shadow him, then you start doing some work with him, and then one of those guys signs off on your 30-hour certificate saying that you were riding along and you trained with someone for 30 hours that was licensed. So what they did was they put me in a room and they gave me the binder. No one ever reads this binder. No one. I spoke to many technicians that have worked for them, and while I was working with them, I asked them about this because we all had to re-sign those pages on the binder. They had to give us new binders because they had misplaced them during an office move, and they needed us to sign them again. That was their excuse. But I'll tell you what I believe the real reason was. But so no one ever read the binder, and there's this one sheet in that binder for all you technicians out there I'm not sure if it's digital now. This was I don't know, almost 15 years ago, well, 12 years ago, and everything was on paper. I don't know if it's digital now, but there was one sheet. It's a non-compete clause, which states that once you leave the company, you can't compete against them, uh, and steal their customers and stuff like that. It was very vague, so they can pretty much get you whichever way they wanted. I mean, that's what I understood from it when I read it. So it was so vague that it didn't specify if you went to another company and then you guys got one of their customers, or if you started your own company. It was very vague in that sense that if they just wanted to get you, they wanted to come after you, they definitely could if you signed that paper. So I, of course, never signed it because I read all the pages because I was bored and I was just in that room and I didn't have anything to do at home. So I didn't want to finish early and be sent home. So I read everything and I didn't sign that paper. So let me tell you why this is important. I'm going to skip ahead. When I left the company and I said, "Hey, I started my own company," and I was talking to my branch manager, he's like, "Yeah, well, you can't compete against us." I never signed that paper. He said, "Yeah, but we had you guys sign it again." I said, "The second time I never signed that paper too. I ripped it out." And I gave you the booklet without that sheet. You won't find that paper with my signature on it. Oh, okay. All right. Good luck to you. Okay. Yeah. Because if they want to come after you, they want to, all they need is that sheet, and that's it, man. They just wait until they see you on the road and you're anywhere near one of their stops, and that's it. They can come after you. So let's go back. It's very important that you read those pages. Very important. For if you're listening to this podcast and you haven't gotten into the pest control field and you're just starting out, you know, please read that. Now, understand that everyone is going to have their own version of a non-compete clause, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not saying don't sign them. You can sign them, but just read it over and make sure that you're okay with what's written on there. So if it's too vague where they come at you for any little thing, then I'm not signing that. If it's more specific, you cannot go after our direct customers, our customers within a certain time frame, then I'm fine with that. But that's not what it stated. So just look it over. So as far as training, they put me on the road with the two oldest guys in the branch. One of them was over 60, and I think both of them were over 60, early 60s, very close to retirement. And termite guy, I was basically his assistant because he was so old he couldn't check termite stations. He would just go over them, and he had this pole that would remove the station cap. He was scanning. He would use the pole to take the cap off and then scan the top and then put the top back on, and he wouldn't pull out the bait. So he would never check any of the stations. And most of the stations in there were full of mud, dirt, stuff like that. These were T-Max stations. I know other companies use these Centricon ones. These were the big T-Max stations with the black tops. And so he had me bending over, pulling all those stations out. And I mean, you pay your dues, you do what you got to do. It was no big deal to me. I mean, 15 years ago, I was in much better shape and I could jump up and down and do whatever. I didn't mind. So that was my training for 3 days. Just pull out stations, scan. We did a couple installations where we dug the holes back in the day. I'm not sure how it is down south or in different states. We're in New York. We used the gas auger to dig the holes. So that was a little fun with the machine. And then the machines break and then they never get them replaced. And then you have to use a digging bar. So after the first year at the company, I never saw anyone else with an auger again. Everyone used the digging bar. So we made a few installs, and that was my training. Just how to fill out the sheet, and then the service ticket that we leave at the door, and we check the termite station. Then with the pest guy, he was an older gentleman as well, over 60. He had his customers for years. So some places he had the keys to the house, which is very rare and very, very weird. Now with technology, some customers give you the code to the garage doors and you can go in that way. You just text them when you're there. just so they know, because the alarm might go off. You go into the garage, you spray the rooms that you need to spray. Generally, for Terminex and most pest control companies, is kitchen, bathroom, basement, and garage, and then the exterior, of course. So with him, he only sprayed the kitchen and the bathroom on the main floor. Didn't go anywhere else, and people were paying this guy $100 every service. We were in a very rich neighborhood, but he did not spray anything. He completely convinced these people that they did not need treatment, um, well, general treatment. He told them that just treating the kitchen and bathroom, that the bug would carry the chemical back to its source, and they didn't need more chemicals than that. I mean, we barely sprayed the outside at homes. So that was my training. I was with him for almost a week, and I was with the termite guy for like 3 days. And then show up to work. I think I want to ride with someone. They just toss me a key and say, "Hey, Caesar, here's 18 stops. Go hit the road." And that was it. That's my story. That's how the big T works. So uh, I had no formal training on how to use the scanner. Both of the older gentlemen never used scanners. They did everything by paper. So the scanners, to scan the barcode on the termite stations, he would scan them, but if there was any errors on the scanner for the term, when I was in training with the termite guy, if there was any errors with the scanner, he would say, "Oh, this thing is acting up again," and then he wouldn't scan a stop after that. So what he would do is he'd show up to each house, just take the tops off, put them back on, and then he'd fill out the paper sheet, a paper receipt, and then leave it at their door. And then he would ask the secretary to complete the service for him because the scanner wasn't working. And that's how he got stops done. Now with technology in our company, we can scan everything, of course, with our phones. We don't need the scanning devices. There was, for the younger guys who just started out in pest control, there would be these big block scanning devices. You will see them on UPS trucks and FedEx trucks, something similar to that. And yeah, so we would scan with our phones here in our branch. And with that, you can track the technician. So when he completes a service, it shows you GPS location for where he marked it off as complete, shows you GPS location where he checked in. Uh, when he's on the road, you can get up-to-date tracking with that technician. You can do it two ways. So some companies, you can pay them, and then you can track them through their phone. And then other companies, you can just put a device on their car, on the company vehicle, and then you can track it that way. And that one works through cell phone reception. So you pay $50 an issue, and then you pay like $20 a month, and you can track the car. We don't do any of that. We just need a GPS for when you check into the stop and when you check out. This is more for if a customer calls to complain and says, "Hey, I didn't see the technician. He didn't really come," stuff like that. You have the specific time that he checked in, specific time he checked out. They have access to a custom customer portal, and they can see the GPS location. Once they click on the stop, it'll show them a dot of where that technician checked in and where he checked out, the time, and all the chemicals used. And then with the customer portal, they have a label section where they can see the label of every chemical that we have with the company, and they can see the receipt, and they can check the label if they like that way. And that's the way. But so let's get back to the big T. So after they throw me on the road, they say, "Okay, go ahead." No one provides you a map. You have to go buy one yourself. This is before, well, not before this. We had GPS devices, but there was no GPS on your phone. So we had the GPS on the dash of the car. You had to buy a separate device. So before I purchased that device, because I didn't have one prior, I had to buy a $30 map and learn how to use a map really fast. It took me a few days, but I got it, and I'm glad that I did, because now I know I can use a map if any issues arise. And then you get the GPS device. A lot of people had a couple of devices that they love. One of them was, I believe, TomTom, and then another one, Garmin. Those were the best devices that they had. But yeah, so they sent you out. They sent you out to a road. Customers have never seen you. They get no notification. There's going to be a new guy out there. You're basically thrown out there, and you just have to figure it out. And I tell you, I mean, I learned how to deal with customers that way. It helped, but the training was severely lacking. So, what this teaches us over here is that because now we know how not to train someone, it helps us with being a better company and training our guys to be better. So let me just give you guys some tips. So the first thing that I would do is get the technician to fill out a form. You get them to fill out a questionnaire where you ask them random questions. Is he good with GPS? Charging the phone. Does he have a car charger? Simple things that you would never think of, but everyday things that technician needs to worry about. You need to ask that question. You need to put that in a questionnaire. It goes through a lot faster. It's better if you can make it digital, so then the guy you're hiring could just fill that out. If you can get him to fill it out when he's filling out the job application, it'd be even better. So then by the time he comes in for the interview, you already got that questionnaire filled out. You got those questions answered, and you can train him accordingly. That helps. Then the next thing, you have to have constant communication with your tech. You should definitely try to talk to your tech in the morning, the beginning of the day, the middle of the day, and the end of the day. Not just once a day. 2, 3 times a day is best. You shouldn't be hovering over him, calling him after every stop. Maybe initially you can, just to make sure you drill certain things into his head. But if you trained him correctly when he was riding with whoever you had him riding with for the first 2 weeks, then he's aware of what he needs to do. So now you have the questionnaire done. You have the proper communication. He should definitely ride with your best tech. Don't put him with a guy that's about to leave. Some of those guys, they have bad habits and they pass them over to a new guy. So I'd recommend a week with your best tech, and then maybe a week with you, with the owner or the manager, and then you can see. And if you notice any bad habits forming that he may have picked up from your best tech, then you can go address that with your best tech in the future, and keep the company in line with the way that you want it to perform. So then after you have that, then of course appearance is key. Make sure that the uniforms are worn and everything is correct and proper. And you will not believe how many companies here in New York City, the technicians are out on the field, and meaning the streets, in jeans and a t-shirt and a company t-shirt. And sometimes you don't even see the company t-shirt. There's no one watching over them, so no one really knows what they're wearing. So some of these guys, they're out on the field in the city, and New York City parking is very expensive. Having a car is very expensive. So if they're going to be in the same area, you're going to keep them in one borough, which is like one county in the city. Then you can just have them go on public transportation, give them a chemical bag with wheels, and he can kind of get through the whole day. I don't know how that's possible. A lot of guys do. They get through the whole day with that, and no one's watching over them. So these guys go on the field. They're wearing jean shorts with boots on, and they think just wearing boots is fine, but they don't have long sleeve shirts. And if they do have long sleeve shirts, it's t-shirts, that's a whole other thing. And then some of these guys just wear regular t-shirts. So there's a guy with regular blue jeans, Metallica t-shirt, and a chemical bag, a Husky bag with wheels. And the only reason I knew he was an exterminator was because the wand for the B&G spray was sticking out, the hose, and that's how I figured it out. But so that's another thing. Appearance is important. We're going to address that in a whole other episode, because appearance needs to be dealt with on a separate scale, on a separate episode, because appearance is so important, especially when you're going to make sales. So the sales guy should be very well, he should be presentable, and then the technician as well. When he continues doing his services, he should be fluid. This is something I learned not only at Terminex. Terminex uses, the generic uniforms. Everything is the same, but where the uniforms were really hammered into me, that you had to wear them, and that appearance is key, is with my friend that got me the job at Turbinex. And when I went to work at his company, he was so into his text being very presentable at all times, and that really stuck with me. I mean, when I started my own company, I didn't go all the way that he did. I mean, he had top of the line fabrics, work fabrics. He got the most expensive uniforms. I didn't do that, but I did my best to look as presentable as possible, and definitely I feel like I was a lot better than 80% of the guys out there in the street, so that helped a lot. So that was my story with the big T and in my training. Trust me, the episodes are gonna get better. I'm gonna have more structure to them, so I'm not gonna be bouncing back and forth. And I appreciate you for listening. Be safe out there on the road. Watch your surroundings. There are a lot of crazy people out there, and I mean, it's an easy job, but it's a dangerous job. I mean, we're dealing with chemicals all day, and we're dealing with tons of different people, tons of different personalities, and you never know. I mean, in the city, you probably have a better chance of bumping into a weirdo, not a weirdo, person, mentally challenged person, than in other places. It depends, but just be safe out there, and keep listening. Please subscribe. We're going to do a few more of these pre-episodes. Then we're going to get right into the full episodes with the locked-in sound that we're going to use and the locked-in space. We get the right sound. And then we'll start doing, hopefully we'll start doing some interviews in the future. So if you want to be interviewed, we'd love to interview you. If you're a technician, if you're a manager, if you're an owner, I don't know if you want to promote your pest control company here, but we'd love to hear your techniques. How do you use your company? How do you grow your company? And what we can do to grow our company? You know, this is all things pest control related podcast. So if you're in the pest control field, in the service field, don't hesitate to follow us on Instagram, Pest Startup 101. Or go to our YouTube, Pest Startup 101. Just search Pest Startup 101, and you can write us a comment there, or DM. You can also email us, peststartup101@gmail.com. Everything is Pest Startup 101, even on Facebook. So just look us up and message us, and we'll definitely message you back, and we can set something up. Okay. Thanks for listening.